Ooh, what if events had unfolded differently in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? What if the Marvel zombies had invaded the Spider Society Part 2? Now welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to a brand new Marvel's What If episode, and I am super excited to have this Part 2 finally out after almost a month of, waiting for Part 2. Thank you so much for being patient with me and really being excited for the second part. I know a lot of people have different opinions on Marvel Zombies, but I'm a huge fan of Marvel Zombies, and to do this storyline was very, very fun, and I do want to thank Zachary Stonebreaker for making this happen, as he's been sponsoring a lot of the brand new videos on the Patreon, and I would highly recommend, if you want to work with me on a lot of videos, do make sure to check out the Patreon, because a lot of the stuff on the Patreon actually happens there too. So there's a lot of behind the scenes content. You can work with me, you can work with Miss Lepart Productions on animated episodes. So there's a lot of brand new stuff coming out, a lot of new tiers that I believe are going to be released soon. So if that's something that you would like to support, I would highly recommend. I will have the link in the description down below. But that being said, my fellow watchers, let's continue where we left off. Location, Earth 42. Unknown location. Gwen Stacy continued to work on the bootleg watch portal. Her heart sunk deeply in her chest. A few moments ago, she was able to confirm that versions of the zombified Spider-Man were attacking different universes. And right now, there was nothing she felt that she could do to stop it. She knew that even Miles didn't feel better, but even though she continued working on the watch, signing in frustration multiple times, she needed to see her father. She needed to tell him that she was okay and find a way to save him, and there was a way that she was devising it. When she finally had a positive beep, she smiled. Finally, some good news to brighten up the day. Gwen walked up to the other corner of the room, where Mayday Parker had now woken up. But she wasn't as bright as she usually was. Gwen could understand. The loss of her father had darkened even her mood. Gwen could relate to the loss a bit. She felt emptiness when her father had turned her back at her. However, it was not the time for that. Gwen walked up to the mother and child and told them she found a way to save them in case the zombies accessed all the universes. Gwen handed over her watch to Mary Jane, noting that she had modified the watch to transport Mary Jane and Mayday into a pocket dimension. Here, no Spider-Man would be able to access it. Not even O'Hara would be able to get a trace or any energy signals of the pocket dimension. Mary Jane did not like the idea of being locked up in a certain dimension. However, she understood that it was for her and Mayday's safety. Gwen opened the portal, and Mary Jane walked in. Taking a moment to acknowledge her before stepping in with Mayday, Gwen walked up to Miles and asked him to cheer up, that they were going to figure something out. Maybe they could discover where the original blue light had come from. They would know what to do. However, Miles was of a different opinion. He noted that they needed to attack the zombies and bring an end to their tyranny. He also noted that they needed to assemble a team. He wondered if Gwen could work on sending a signal that only specific friends could hear it. Gwen heaved a sigh and noted that she would figure out what she could do. Location, Spider Society headquarters, Earth 928. Miguel O'Hara stood, watching the monitors as he basked in the glory of the victory he was obtaining. He could see the zombie virus spreading into the other dimensions that had Spider-Man. He could see him winning. He was finally getting his family. O'Hara never believed he would have gotten this amount of things done in just a little bit of time. There was something about the hunger that sparked determination as well. As he stood by the monitor, Zombie Wolverine walked up to him and commanded his ambition, noting he had done more havoc in a few hours than the rest of them combined. O'Hara chuckled and noted that there was more to achieve. The moment that they had their spider army, they'd be able to suppress any army that came against them, and they'd have all the food in the multiverse to themselves. Zombie Wolverine chuckled and noted that Zombie Colonel America never had such a vision. The zombie men laughed menacingly. Location, Earth 42. When a portal opened, Miles and Gwen's heart froze. They looked on in horror as they expected anything. However, to their relief, 4 familiar faces stepped out of the portal. Margot Kess, Howard Brown, Harvick Pervarker, and Spider-Cat stepped out of the portal. Miles was pretty surprised to see Spider-Cat, considering that the last time they saw each other, Spider-Cat had hurt him. But Spider-Cat appeared tamed. It was obvious that they were all on the same side now. Gwen immediately noted that she wasn't sure if there were other spider people left to take her message. Margot, however, admitted that they were the only ones left in the Spider Society now, and O'Hara was acting fast. He was still attacking other universes and spreading the zombie virus to other people in a bid to create his army. It was at this moment that Brown asked what they were going to do, noting that this Earth wasn't even going to be safe for much longer. Miles immediately noted that while they could not stop the zombie virus, that it was spreading fast, maybe they could contain the virus. Varker proceeded to ask how. Miles immediately held his breath and announced the plan. They were going to destroy the Spider Society headquarters. Location Earth 42, unknown. Where the hell is Miles? Gwen asked as she walked into the corner. Margot and Pervarker looked at her and shrugged. Gwen immediately was worried. It had been 20 minutes since Miles had announced his plan to the team, and now he had suddenly disappeared. She hoped that he was okay. She wouldn't be able to bear if anything had happened to him. Brown immediately approached her, snapping her worry away from her. She looked at him and asked what was wrong. However, Brown noted that there was nothing wrong with him. He had observed that there was something wrong with Gwen and he needed her to be honest about it. Gwen was about to protest when she realized that Brown was going to find out one way or another. He was a pretty stubborn guy after all. She then noted that she had been worried about the zombies. Brown immediately told her that the zombies were everyone's problem, so what seemed to be the issue? However, Gwen noted that it wasn't just the zombies that were the problem. It was where the zombies had come from. Howard now asked her to explain. Gwen noted that before the zombie outbreak, there was a blue light that had struck the Spider Society. Howard agreed with her. Gwen proceeded to note that she felt this blue light was actually connected to the entire situation, and maybe this was actually their solution. Brown now asked Gwen if she tried talking to Miles about it, but Gwen said Miles was dismissive of the idea, and she understood he was grieving, hence she wasn't pushing it. Brown immediately asked her since when did Gwen Stacy follow the rules, and to that, Gwen smiled widely. It was time for a little rogue mission. Location, Earth 1610, Davis's residence. Miles knew that before he embarked on the mission to save reality, he needed to make one last stop. As he arrived at his home, he did not bother to remove his Spider-Man suit. His parents were in the living room and he steadily moved towards the door, holding his breath. The moment he opened the door, his parents turned to the door. Their jaws dropped in shock as they beheld their son in a spider suit. Miles immediately moved towards them and noted that there was a lot to talk about. Location, a dead Earth. Abandoned laboratory. Gwen and Brown arrived at an abandoned laboratory on an Earth that Gwen explained to be Dead Earth. They had their masks on, fully equipped with oxygen tanks. Brown immediately asked what happened to the Earth that was so dreadful. Gwen said that on this Earth, a nuclear apocalypse had occurred, destroying every living thing on Earth. Brown then asked how a dead Earth would help them. Gwen said that on this Earth, the technology produced was so advanced that it was capable of surviving even the highest amounts of radiation. To this extent, the technology wasn't affected by the blasts. Gwen further noted that now they could salvage the technology to their advantage, and they would be able to trace the source of the blue light. Brown appeared excited at the news. However, he became concerned and asked if they were not possible targets of zombie attacks. However, Gwen noted that it was a dead Earth, and O'Hara would possibly not come for a dead planet. After all, there was no spider people on this Earth. To that extent, they continued working. Location, Earth 1610. In time, Miles had explained everything to his parents and said that they were not safe. If anything happened to him, he needed to be sure that the zombies would not be able to reach his parents here. His father, Jefferson, was very disturbed by his tone. However, Miles had a smile on his face. He was ready for anything. He hugged his parents and manipulated the bootleg portal Gwen had given him. This way, he was going to send them to the pocket dimension as well, to protect them. "That was very sweet of you," Miles heard someone say behind him. He turned swiftly, shocked to see Zombie O'Hara standing in front of him. Location, dead Earth, unknown location. Gwen didn't know how long they spent doing research on the source of the blue light, manipulating satellites that could trace their interdimensional energy and everything. Brown assisted in the little ways. They continued working tirelessly, trying to find the source of the blue light. It was at that moment that they finally realized something. It was a discovery according to Gwen. So as she suspected, the blue light was actually a wave of temporal energy. The zombies were not originally destined to be at Earth 928. The temporal wave had changed the course of their journey and brought them there. But this was not the most exciting discovery. Gwen was reading severe cosmic energy levels from the wave. Whatever caused this wave to hit was not an ordinary being. Perhaps it was an extraterrestrial. And this war just got a lot more complicated, Brown admitted. Gwen noted that they had to tell Miles about this immediately. She and Brown proceeded to get out of the dead Earth. Location, Earth 1610, Davis residence. Miles watched in horror at the zombified version of Miguel O'Hara. Immediately, his first instinct was to fight. However, O'Hara raised his hands in surrender and said that he was not here to fight, and Miles only had to hear him out. There was something about the way he said it that piqued Miles' interest, because at this moment, Miles relaxed a bit. O'Hara tried stepping forward, but Miles stepped backwards, immediately taking a fighting stance. Seeing that Miles would not fully trust him, O'Hara remained where he was. O'Hara proceeded to tell Miles that he was here to strike a bargain with Morales. When Morales asked why O'Hara was interested in bargaining with him, 2099 Spider-Man said that it was because he saw something great in Miles. In fact, when he had figured out that Miles was the original anomaly, he did everything to imprison Miles. In all, he had always seen Miles' potential. Right now, with his heightened senses, he could see that Miles was not trusting him. Thus, he was offering Miles a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He would give Miles the zombie bite, and Miles would serve as his second command, where 2099 didn't have to devour him. Miles was shocked at the offer. He immediately retorted on why O'Hara would think he would accept such an offer. O'Hara noted that he knew Miles would prove stubborn. However, he would give Miles the opportunity to consider the option. Moreover, he said that he would not send zombies to destroy Earth 1610, as a sign of good faith. He would also spare the remainder of Miles' friends. All he wanted was Miles. Everyone else be damned. And with that, 2099 Spider-Man opened a portal and stepped into it, leaving Miles absolutely confused. Location, Earth 42. Gwen and Brown arrived first, with Miles arriving barely a minute later. Gwen immediately confronted Miles, asking him where he had been. Miles said that he had gone to send his parents to safety. The moment he said that, Gwen calmed down. She was glad that at least Miles was safe. In no time, the heroes had a meeting to determine their next course of action. Gwen and Brown gave a progress report on their little stowaway mission and noted that they could find the extraterrestrial being responsible for the zombie outbreak. But that was a long shot. Everyone seemed to agree that right now, the course of action was to follow Miles' plan and destroy the Spider Society headquarters once and for all. However, Miles said that they may not go through with the plan. Shocking the others, he said that O'Hara had met him and offered him a deal. He told him that O'Hara wanted Miles to sacrifice himself, and if Miles did, Earth 1610 and Miles' friends would be safe. Margot inquired if Miles was sure that O'Hara would keep his end of the bargain, and Miles noted that O'Hara appeared confident. Gwen proceeded to ask if Miles was seriously considered sacrificing himself. Miles told them that if he could protect them, then he would have to do it. However, the entire team got on their feet and informed Miles that they were all in for this fight till the very end. They were scared, true, but they were willing to try his plan and go down with it if it failed. And O'Hara was going down, one way or another. With a smile, Miles nodded, his head in approval. It was time for battle. Location: Spider Society headquarters, Earth 928. O'Hara continued to manipulate the buttons he saw. He could see that a zombie virus was spreading and spreading fast. He laughed as he seemed to be winning something inside him. He also hoped that Miles was considering his offer. If Miles accepted his offer, O'Hara would have taken care of one problem. He sincerely hoped that he would not have to deal with Miles the hard way. He didn't want Miles to die. He had big plans for him. Suddenly, his spider sense kicked in. He felt something was wrong. He immediately contacted Zombie Wolverine. Someone was coming for them. The 5 uninfected spider people walked majestically towards the building. They had gone over their plan multiple times. They could not attack stealthily. The zombies would sniff them out. With their amazing sense of smell, they could not split up. They would be killed in seconds, but they could charge together as a group, united. After all, Miles had made a nice discovery. His venom blast contained enough force required to kill the zombies. It had taken a while, but their combined effort, they were able to create a device that replicated Miles' venom blast. And now, it was a spot and shoot moment. The moment of truth. It was the moment that the war was going to begin. And they were ready. They walked through the Spider Society doors. And the moment of zombies spotted them, they charged with screams. Every roar could be heard. Even the roar of Spider-Cat had a deafening ear. This was indeed the fight of their lives. It was the toughest war that they had experienced ever. With their venom blasts activated, the team shot through every zombie that charged itself at them. Nevertheless, the more they fought, the tougher the fight became. In seconds, Margot, Cass, and Spider-Cat were surrounded by zombie variants of themselves. Gwen had just killed one zombie when she turned in horror and watched as multiple zombies surrounded Margot and Spider-Cat. Gwen's heart shattered at the moment as she watched the zombies completely devour her friends, as zombie Spider-Cat had ate the variant. Nevertheless, Gwen took a deep breath and returned to the fight. Howard Brown was by her side. He turned to her and gave her a reassuring smile. Suddenly, as they fought other zombies, Zombie Wolverine jumped in front of them. He extended his claws and gave a deafening roar, and he charged towards the duo. It was a tough battle, with Zombie Wolverine overpowering them in no time. Soon enough, he charged towards Gwen Stacy, who was on the floor, and proceeded to strike her with his claws. However, Brown jumped in the way, taking the stab. Gwen cried in horror, and she watched the claws sink into Brown's abdomen. However, Brown signaled her, allowing Gwen to use the opportunity and shoot Zombie Wolverine. The zombie died on the spot as Wolverine's adamantium skeleton completely vaporized in front of them. Brown fell into Gwen's arms, and she broke down. However, Brown continued to smile as he closed his eyes in death. Meanwhile, Miles had just walked into the control room. He was far away from the others, which was the plan all along. Now all he had to do was to destroy the teleporter in this entire place. Then the zombie virus would stop spreading. However, before he could do anything, he felt a web grab him with all the force he could not imagine. When Miles broke out of the web, he discovered to his horror that a zombified Peter B. Parker was standing in front of him. Miles immediately knew that things had changed from bad to worse. Location? Somewhere in the cosmos. Uatu watched the war that broke out in one of the universes. He knew at this moment that if he did not intervene, the entire multiverse could be at stake. He decided then that he was going to break the rules and interfere. After all, the energy wave that caused all this madness had come from an extraterrestrial being, and only Uatu could fight this person. Uatu then decided that he would save someone from the chaos. He had already decided who he would save. Location? Spider Society Headquarters, Earth 928. Miles and Peter B. Parker continued to fight. It was a rather uneven fight as Miles refused to harm Peter. Instead, he was avoiding being hit. However, he knew that it was very easy to end this. Peter B. Parker kicked Miles, who landed on a wall with a thud. The zombie proceeded to roar as he prepared to attack Miles. Miles looked on at him, tears in his eyes. The two looked over each other. He begged Peter B. not to do this. However, Parker rushed towards him. Closing his eyes, Miles fired his venom blast. In seconds, Parker was dead. Meanwhile, Gwen Stacy was still crying over Brown when Parker came towards her, noting that she had to get out of there. Parker was bloodied, a bite at his neck. Gwen immediately realized that Parker was transitioning into a zombie and proceeded to run away. However, before she could get far, she was surrounded by more zombies. She turned to Parker, who screamed in agony as he completed his transition. The zombies moved towards Gwen, hunger in their eyes. Gwen closed her eyes, preparing for the end. She did not realize when a bright light had surrounded her, blinding the other zombies. With Peter B. Parker dead, Miles proceeded to destroy a few gadgets. He knew that by causing an explosion, he would burn the building and end this war for good. However, before he could cause more havoc, he felt a bite on his arm. Miles turned in horror and saw a zombie spider cat grinning at him. It was at this moment that O'Hara came out of the shadows. "No more fighting," O'Hara said. With a sign, Miles closed his eyes as he completed his transition into a zombie. Location Earth 42, Highway. Miles Morales, the Prowler, was standing over a building when he noticed a portal open in the sky. When he moved to check it out, he noticed a figure fall out. Getting closer, he realized this figure looked exactly like him. Worse still, this figure was a zombie. Zombie Miles Morales snapped his fingers, and multiple zombies proceeded to arrive through the portal. And that is going to be it, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, of What If Marvel Zombies Were in Across the Spider-Verse Part 2. What if the Marvel Zombies had invaded the Spider Society? Now, what did you think of this Marvel's What If episode? It's getting into some very dark territory, and I know a lot of you guys aren't, too interested in the dark stuff. I know a lot of people are, actually. That's a lie. A lot of people are, but I do want to say that it's kind of down the middle. It's kind of split down the middle. This story is more for, the gruesome fans that love Marvel Zombies. Like, I wouldn't really be doing, a lot of these character deaths, and I'm kind of shocked that, Miles turned at the very end. So it's very interesting, but what did you guys think of Part 2 of What If Marvel Zombies Invaded the Spider Society? It's a very interesting Marvel's What If, and again, I do want to give a massive thank you to Zachary Stonebreaker, and I do want to say me and Zachary, we actually were talking about doing a podcast, and this is actually going to be happening on the channel very soon, where the whole podcast itself, it's going to be thick talk, and it's going to be kind of reinvented into more of, talking about pop culture altogether, but it's mainly going to be about, talking about different realities, talking about, multiple realities, what could happen, what could change. So there's so many conversations that's going to be happening, and I cannot wait to get episode 1 out. It actually should be out this weekend, so I do want to say, if it is out, do make sure to follow me on Instagram so that you can see the latest updates, but I will put a link in the description down below, because me and Zachary actually want to talk about so many different things, like, what if Superman was in The Last of Us? What if Darth Maul was on Lothal Minor? There's so many different, conversations that we're going to have going forward with this podcast. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys do enjoy these videos, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Are you excited for part 3? Because I hope you are, because part 3 will be coming soon, and it will be the finale of, what if the Spider Society were invaded by the Marvel Zombies. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a fantastic day. Peace out.